One awkward interview can be forgotten. One bad headline can be explained. But when controversy follows you year after year, people stop asking, is this true? They start asking, what happens next? That's exactly what happened to Ellen DeGeneres. For years, Ellen was one of the most beloved faces on television. She danced onto the stage, gave away gifts, surprised struggling families, and ended almost every episode with the same message: be kind. That simple slogan became her entire brand. But then something changed. Instead of viral moments celebrating generosity, the internet became obsessed with old interviews, behind-the-scenes stories, and claims from former employees and celebrity guests. Every few weeks, another clip resurfaced, another headline appeared, and another debate started online. Before long, it felt like Ellen couldn't escape the controversy, no matter what she did. So how did someone known for kindness become one of Hollywood's most criticized television hosts? Let's rewind. Long before the workplace allegations made international headlines, viewers had already started rewatching old interviews with a very different perspective. One interview that spread everywhere featured actress Dakota Johnson. During their conversation, Ellen joked that Dakota never invited her to a birthday party. Instead of laughing along, Dakota calmly corrected her on live television, reminding Ellen that she had actually been invited and that Ellen simply chose not to attend. The audience laughed, but online, people saw something else. They felt it was one of the first moments where a guest challenged Ellen instead of going along with the joke. Overnight, the clip exploded across social media and millions of people began revisiting other interviews from the show's long history. Then another moment returned to the spotlight. Years earlier, singer Mariah Carey appeared on Ellen's show while rumors circulated that she might be pregnant. Ellen encouraged her to drink champagne on camera as a way of proving whether the rumors were true. Mariah clearly looked uncomfortable and avoided giving a direct answer. Not long afterward, Mariah sadly revealed she had suffered a miscarriage. Many viewers later criticized the interview, arguing that personal medical news should always remain the choice of the person experiencing it. While others believed Ellen was simply trying to have fun, the clip suddenly looked very different through modern eyes. Around the same time, beauty creator Nikki Tutorials also spoke publicly about her experience after appearing on the show. Following her interview, she explained that she had expected a warm welcome, but instead felt uncomfortable behind the scenes. She described the atmosphere as less friendly than she had imagined, and said the experience didn't match the image many viewers saw on television. None of these stories alone destroyed Ellen's reputation, but together, they started creating a completely different picture. People who had once seen only the smiling television host now began asking whether the person on camera was very different from the person behind it. That question would soon become much bigger than a few awkward interviews. As more old clips resurfaced, attention shifted away from celebrity interviews and towards something much more serious: the people who actually worked on the show every day. In 2020, several former employees came forward with allegations about the workplace behind the Ellen DeGeneres show. They described an environment that was very different from what viewers saw on television. According to their accounts, some staff members felt ignored, intimidated, or afraid to speak up. Others claimed there were issues involving workplace behavior that should have been addressed much sooner. The allegations quickly spread across major news outlets. For the first time, the conversation wasn't just about uncomfortable interviews. It was about the culture behind one of America's biggest daytime shows. Warner Media launched an internal investigation, interviewing current and former employees. After the investigation, several senior producers left the show, and changes were made behind the scenes. Ellen also addressed the situation publicly. She apologized to her staff, saying that as the face of the show, she accepted responsibility for what happened. She admitted that things had gone wrong and promised that changes would be made moving forward. For some people, the apology was enough. For others, it came far too late. The problem wasn't just the investigation itself. It was that Ellen's entire public image had always been built around one simple message: kindness. When your personal brand is be kind, people naturally expect your workplace to reflect those same values. That's why the backlash became so intense. If another celebrity had faced similar criticism, it still would have been major news. But because Ellen's reputation was so closely tied to being compassionate, every new accusation felt like it directly challenged the image she'd spent decades building. Even celebrities began weighing in. Some defended Ellen without hesitation. Comedian Kevin Hart shared that Ellen had always treated him, his family, and his team with kindness. He argued that people had become too eager to celebrate someone's downfall and reminded followers that his own experiences with her had been positive. Jay Leno also publicly supported Ellen, pointing to their decades-long friendship and the millions of dollars she had helped raise for charity over the years. His argument was simple: one person's experience doesn't erase 40 years of knowing someone. Singer Katy Perry echoed a similar message. She said every appearance she had made on Ellen's show had been positive and praised Ellen's long history of supporting charitable causes and equality. But these public defenses created another debate. Many people agreed that someone could be generous to friends, celebrities, and famous guests while employees behind the scenes experienced something completely different. In other words, both things could be true at the same time. That's what made the conversation so complicated. Nobody watching from the outside could fully know what happened inside the studio every day. But the growing number of similar stories made many viewers question whether there was more truth behind the headlines than they had first assumed. As ratings continued to fall, another rumor began spreading. People started asking an entirely different question. If Ellen walked away from daytime television, who would replace her? Suddenly, articles appeared everywhere suggesting possible successors. Actors, comedians, and television personalities were all mentioned, even though many of those reports were based on pure speculation rather than actual negotiations. The fact that replacement discussions had already begun showed just how quickly public opinion had shifted. Only a few years earlier, replacing Ellen would have seemed almost impossible. Now, it felt like many people were preparing for the end of an era. In 2022, that question was finally answered. After nearly 2 decades on the air, the Ellen DeGeneres show came to an end. Ellen insisted that the decision wasn't solely because of the controversy. She explained that she had been thinking about ending the show for some time and wanted to move on to new creative projects. Whether people believe that explanation depended on who you asked. To some fans, Ellen simply felt it was time to close one chapter and begin another. To critics, the timing seemed impossible to ignore. By the time the final episode aired, the show's ratings had dropped significantly compared to its peak years. The nonstop headlines had changed the public conversation, and the program no longer felt untouchable the way it once had. After leaving daytime television, Ellen largely stepped away from the spotlight. She made occasional public appearances, worked on comedy projects, and eventually relocated to the United Kingdom with her wife, Portia de Rossi, spending more time away from Hollywood than she had in decades. But even with a quieter life, the internet never really moved on. Every few months, another old interview goes viral. Someone discovers a forgotten clip, another former guest shares a story, or social media begins debating whether Ellen was treated unfairly or simply faced the consequences of years of behavior. It's become a cycle that never seems to end. One reason is that Ellen's story isn't just about one celebrity. It's about expectations. When someone builds an entire career around kindness, people naturally hold them to a much higher standard. Every mistake feels larger because it conflicts with the image they've presented for years. At the same time, it's also important to remember that public opinion can sometimes swing to extremes. Not every awkward interview proves bad intentions. Not every positive story cancels out negative experiences either. Human beings are complicated, and public figures are rarely as perfect or as terrible as the internet makes them seem. That's what makes Ellen's story so fascinating. Her legacy isn't defined by one interview, one allegation, or one apology. It's defined by the collision between an incredibly successful public image and the stories that challenged it. Whether you believe Ellen was unfairly targeted, deserved the criticism, or think the truth lies somewhere in between, one thing is clear. Very few celebrities have experienced such a dramatic shift in public perception. She went from being known as television's nicest host to becoming one of its most debated personalities. And years after her show ended, people are still arguing about the same question. Was Ellen really the person audiences believed she was? Or was the smiling television version simply the role she played better than anyone else?